I'm your host, Eric Eisenberg. Welcome to Hero Blend number 13. This week, we saw the release of a brand new trailer for X-Men Days of Future Past that completely changed the way that we look at one of this summer's biggest blockbusters. There's a lot to talk about, so stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. I am joined this week by my very good friend, Melissa Molina from Comic Book Resources, Screen Crave, Movie Pilot, a bunch of other sites. Welcome.
Yay!
So this week we are talking about the brand new trailer that was just released for X-Men Days of Future Past. Baseline reading, I thought it was absolutely incredible. Melissa?
I thought it was pretty cool.
It is I'm now officially excited for this movie. Let me start by asking, where was your excitement level for this movie before this trailer landed?
It was pretty high. I mean, when they first announced that Bryan Singer was going to come back to the X-Men franchise, that made me really happy because it was like, cool, let's see if we could get this back on track. And I mean, already with like, you know, the Wolverine.
Absolutely.
It's like,
that totally, I mean, I'd even go back to First Class. I think First Class kind of righted the rails.
Yeah.
Wolverine's kind of building on top of that. But I'm actually complete there with you. I mean, for some reason, I feel like Bryan Singer's gotten a bit of a bad rap in the years since X-Men.
Maybe it's because of his other stuff?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, did he make... I mean, Superman Returns didn't do that well, and James the Giant Slayer. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is that X-Men and X2, I think, personally still stand as two of the best comic book movies we've seen. It also completely reinvigorated the genre. I completely there with you.
Yeah, X-Men came out before Spider-Man and the huge wave of movies, so X-Men has a lot to do with the big superhero craze that we're in right now.
That's a huge, absolute. So let's actually talk about the actual trailer itself, because I think we've seen two trailers up until now. This is kind of the one that really brings us into the story. How do you feel like just about that kind of exposition dump just by Wolverine?
They kind of have to do it. I mean, fans obviously know the whole storyline for Days of Future Past. It's not that short of a story arc, but like, you know, you need to update fans of, you know, the most recent X-Men movies and people who have been fans since the first X-Men movie. And that was 99, 2000 when it first came out.
First X-Men was 2000, yeah.
Yeah.
So, very, very early. And I mean, honestly, I'm completely there with you. Like, I think that, I mean, a part of a trailer's job is to establish the story, but what this movie really does, and really does effectively, is that it ties the original trilogy back to First Class. Like, the first trailer, and I'd say even the second trailer, kind of were more focused on either side, but I think this is the first one to really bring them together.
Well, it kind of has to, because, you know, fans, you know, audience members need to realize that we're tying these two worlds together, that from this point on, more than likely, these two worlds are still going to kind of mesh, especially with Apocalypse already announced.
Exactly, that's coming around.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, it's just kind of a reflection of the whole comic book movie world right now. I mean, the idea is to just think bigger. Avengers, obviously, and Marvel Studios, obviously, with Avengers and the building of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Spider-Man is going to introduce Sinister Six, Venom,
and then even with DC, they're trying to amp up their stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, they have to think bigger. This is, I mean, obviously, Fox has Fantastic Four on the way, so they're going to even take that to another level. But I think that right now, I think that's going to be a huge selling point for this film. Do you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, the only unfortunate thing for a lot of fans, including myself, is the fact that this isn't tied into the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
That's true.
You know?
Though, if we're going to be creative and fun with it, we could just say this is an alternate dimension or an alternate timeline from what's going on in Marvel. Maybe what's happening in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is a alternate timeline where mutants never existed. Magic. Well, except for Quicksilver.
Yeah, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Well,
I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, because you're going to see, like, we're going to see, like, teeny tiny Scarlet Witch in Days of Future Past, so.
But I actually, that brings me to another point, which is that up until this point, I think Quicksilver was almost kind of being looked at as a bit of a punchline in this movie. I mean, you had his introduction through a Carl's Jr. ad.
Yeah.
Perhaps not the greatest way to kind of showcase a superhero's powers for the first time. But in this trailer, not only do you have kind of Professor X kind of calling him a pain in the ass, and kind of you get the impression that you're not really necessarily supposed to be totally on board with this guy, but there was this cool demonstration of the powers, and like it was a cool introduction to the character in general.
Yeah, definitely, and it also finally showcases how he looks when he's moving around too.
Yeah,
and that was the one thing that fans were curious about, especially after Spoilers. Captain America: The Winter Soldier zinger when we saw Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch in the cells.
And how he was moving in the cell. Yeah.
So now we have a compare and contrast between those two Quicksilvers and how they move. And, like, also, too, now seeing him in action and everything like that, now fans can start shutting up a little bit about, like, oh, he looks weird.
Yeah.
He looks funky. Well, it's the era.
Exactly. And, like, I think in motion, the costume fits. Like, I get what they're doing with it. Also, I think it's worth mentioning, it appears that his role isn't going to be that big in this film. I mean, they recruit him for what it looks like to get Magneto out of prison. But beyond that, I mean, who knows what potential role. I mean, he's not in any other sequences that we've seen so far. So that could just be his singular role, and he may just kind of fade off into the distance. It's kind of hard to say at this point.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, the thing is, too, there's a lot of backstory
yes.
that you have to deal with if you're going to, like, really start delving into Quicksilver, because it's like, you're going to have to explain him and Wanda and Magneto.
Also, the eventual fact that Magneto is his dad, which is going to be an interesting revelation, I imagine, in this movie.
If they do reveal
If they do it, from what I understand, Simon Kinberg, I believe, has said that there's going to be hints of it, but that they're not going to, like, blatantly spit it out. So there's that to look forward to.
And Blink,
who we saw in the opening credit sequence, she has very, very cool powers, like being able to kind of send teleportation holes and allow characters to travel through it. There's an awesome sequence at the end with Colossus diving through, gaining terminal velocity, and assumably diving into a Sentinel, which I'm really looking forward to seeing. That should be pretty damn cool.
Well, I mean, after seeing that, I was kind of like thinking in the back of my mind, oh, what I wouldn't give to see a fastball special.
Right? I assume that, I mean, they did an X-Men The Last Stand. Hopefully they're gonna bring it back.
Wait, X-Men The Last Stand happened? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, that. Well,
Darkest Timeline.
Yeah, Darkest Timeline. Melissa, final thoughts on the X-Men Days of Future Past trailer?
I cannot wait. I think it's going to be awesome. I wish we could see more of Kitty Pryde.
Yes.
Because she was originally the person who goes back in time. And she's my favorite X-Men character. So, I'm just really curious to see how it's going to go. And I want to see more Trask. I want to see...
Definitely, of course.
I mean, come on, Dinklage.
It's Peter Dinklage. You can't beat it.
Yeah.
Up to this point, my excitement level was... I mean, I was excited for this movie. I wasn't really there the whole way. I'm now completely sold. Very excited, May 26th for X-Men Days of Future Past. Melissa, thanks so much for joining me, and hopefully you'll come on again soon.
Yeah, totally.
Have a great week, everyone.